meeting of the Westland City Council to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Council President Pro Tem Michael Londo.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Councilman Gadbout. Present. Councilwoman Green.
Present.
Councilman Hersberg. Here. Pro Tem Londo.
Present.
Councilman McDermott.
Present.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Present.
President Hart.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Starting special presentations and announcements. Announcement number 1, new business item 3 is removed from the agenda. That was handled at the special meeting last Friday. It was there as a placeholder. It is now removed. Next we have Wayne County Commissioner Glenn Anderson come to give us an update.
Thank you and good evening. Just, I'll try to make this brief, but had a few things to cover. I know many of you have noticed the projects that are going on in Westland, the road paving projects. I was down by Cherry Hill today, and that project from Merriman Road east to Middle Belt is underway. I think it's moving pretty quick. Probably, depending on the weather, of course, we've had our share of rain. As everyone knows, it's not been a really good season for paving, but Wayne Road is also expected to be completed probably within the next week or so. And in the Cherry Hill portion, that's still underway. It's probably got another week or 2 weeks before it'll be finished. But there's a lot going on in town. We've got, I know, the county has been working with the mayor and the administration on planning for the millions of dollars that are coming in from the federal government. And I think there's been a number of meetings already held that hopefully will be able to partner with the city and blend projects together and hopefully maximize the money that's coming in to the city and to the county. Just wanted to mention one more thing, that we are getting underway with our county budget. The Ways and Means Committee that I serve on and have served on for the entire time I've been on the county commission, we're starting our meetings probably the 3rd week of this month, and they'll go on for about a month before we'll be ready to pass the budget out. So that's all I have right now. I don't know if anyone has any questions. I'll try to answer them if you do. But thank you very much for the opportunity. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Next we have Mo Ayub to go us and talk to us about the walk and roll.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, City Council, Mayor, members in the audience, and residents watching at home. I'm going to talk to you tonight about the Wildwood Bikeway. But before I do that, I just want to give you some background about what we've been doing leading up to the Wildwood Bikeway and the design and creation of it. So in recent years, we've undertaken an effort to improve pedestrian safety, fill in our sidewalk gaps, and also study and learn our roadways and which ones are capable of handling bicycle infrastructure. So some of this progress made on this front includes DPS engineering has been successful in obtaining several different grants to fill in and pay for the sidewalk gaps within our city. Developers are required today to fill in sidewalks where they don't exist in front of their properties, whether it's residential or commercial. We have logged and mapped our entire sidewalk network, including the gaps that exist in our city today. And we are currently identifying intersections that need enhancements or improvements to either traffic signals, the timing of those signals for crossing, paint, or something else. We have also just completed an inventory of crosswalks adjacent to schools and parks and are going to be painting crosswalks in those crossing areas where they don't exist today, or improving them if they're there but maybe aren't as visible. So today we are currently developing a non-motorized plan, a bicycle and pedestrian action plan. It's called the Walk and Roll Westland Plan. and it's 80% paid through a federal grant passed down by the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments. The overall goal of the walk and roll plan is to improve the pedestrian network in Westland and create and identify create attractive biking infrastructure. This is the very first non-motorized plan within the city of Westland. When I left the city of Dearborn about 3 years ago, I was in the middle of their very first non-motorized transportation plan, and one of the very first things the mayor told me during our interview was that he wanted to create this non-motorized plan here in the city. So that was pretty cool and exciting to me, and today I'm here to mainly talk about the Wildwood Road. Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Good? Okay.
Yep.
Thanks. So today I'm here to talk about the Wildwood Road Bikeway, which is the first of its kind as well. It's a continuation of all these efforts that I just mentioned. It is the creation of a bicycle-friendly route along Wildwood between Glenwood and Warren. It's about 3.5 miles. And what it is, it's a bikeway. We're not calling it a bike lane because it's not a dedicated bike lane along the entire 3.5 mile stretch. But it does include bike lane striping where parking does not exist. If you're familiar with Wildwood, there's parking in different segments of it. And where there is parking, we are painting sharrows on the road, and I'll show you what that looks like later in the presentation. We've worked with DPS Engineering and Planning to design the bikeway in compliance with federal and state bicycle infrastructure standards, I'm sorry. And then, so I have a few different categories to describe to you regarding the Wildwood Bikeway. First, why we chose Wildwood. Wildwood connects a large portion of the northern and southern residential neighborhoods with bisecting streets to make it convenient, safe, and easy to access the commercial business corridors, areas of concentrated employment, and our recreational and entertainment facilities. And the bisecting streets, to name a couple of them, are Hunter, Florence, Marquette, and Avondale. There's a few. We feel that the Wildwood Bikeway can create a ripple effect along these bisecting streets that builds awareness to bicycling and also potentially creates a demand, which helps us potentially pay for an add-on to the network at a later time. Analysis by the city identified this corridor as a low-hanging fruit and ideal location for a bicycle lane because of Wildwood characteristics as a residential street, the low posted speed over there, and because the design is safe and has minimal interruption on the current and existing travel paths and patterns of the roadway configuration. How much will it cost? It's going to cost between $14,000 and $16,000. It's going to be mostly paint, striping, and those sharrows that I mentioned. We received a $5,000 grant from the National Kidney Foundation of Michigan to pay for some of the signage that is being done in-house at the new sign shop. Some of the public engagement that has been done to spread the word, engage the residents, and some of our stakeholders. We had a public engagement session May 11th, a public meeting June 29th at J.C. Park. We've engaged a steering committee of local bicycling advocates and residents at large, and we've also engaged residents through social media, online surveys, and a dedicated project website. WalkRollWestland.com is the website for the Walk and Roll Westland plan if you'd like to take the website, learn about the project, and read about some of the project documents that's posted on there today. Some quick takeaways from engaging with the public that you as city council members should know. Residents do not want disruptions to their everyday lives, obviously. So some of the main concerns we've heard were they don't want any negative impacts on safety and emergency responses, which this bikeway does not affect any of these things that I'm about to mention. They want minimal disruptions to automobile traffic as it exists today. No removal of on-street parking They don't want any interference with trash collection or the placement of their trash bins. And there has been widely voiced concerns about speeding traffic, which I believe that bike lanes actually help slow down vehicles because it narrows the vision and makes you more aware of your surroundings. So we hope to start paint within the next couple weeks. It'll take a few days to complete if the weather cooperates, and we'll be having a ribbon cutting ceremony to celebrate. That is all I have for you on this project. I know I've been in touch with many of you via email and updating you on progress of both the Wildwood Bikeway and the walk and roll plan, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Any questions? None?
Thanks, guys.
You all set, Mo? Yes. Okay. All right. We'll now move into comments or inputs on the agenda. This section will allow a person to be recognized only at the beginning of the meeting to address council pertaining to items that are specifically on the business agenda. Questions asked will be answered during the agenda item following a motion and support from the council. Is there anyone on my right? Anyone on my left? Sir.
Richard Graham from Westland and also with Move Westland Forward. Good evening, Council, Mayor. Very limited agenda again tonight, almost nothing under new business. Regarding item D on the consent calendar and spending over $21,000 on 475 city email accounts via Microsoft 365. This is a very high cost per person versus what other businesses or companies can obtain. I understand the need based on the inadequate current service, but surprised about the large per-person cost. Regarding vouchers, and specifically under executive, looks like a charge of over $5,000 for the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Why are the taxpayers paying for this when it is very poorly attended and less than 50% of the cities that qualify are members? This is a great example of why more police officers cannot be hired, Councilman Landau and Councilman Godbout. Regarding E, from the consent calendar and the purchase of swings, are any of these handicap swings or just non-handicap swings? Regarding item 3 on new business, approval of the flood response funding, I do not see this information about this on the council packet.
It's removed from the packet.
It was online and also in the...
It's removed from the agenda. I made the announcement right
I didn't
before
hear that, so you
Yep.
can't talk about it even
Nope.
though my copy has it?
No, it's removed.
Okay, I'll talk about the flooding in Hawthorne Valley and citizen comments.
Okay. All right, is there anyone on my right? Anybody out back? Anyone on my left? All right, we'll close citizens' comments on the agenda, or excuse me, citizens' comments on the agenda and move to the consent calendar. Is there a motion?
So move, Londa. Mr. Saying it. Support.
It's a motion by Councilman Landau, supported by Councilman Hertzberg. Are there any changes to the consent calendar? Any changes to the consent calendar? Is there any dissent?
Questions on D?
Nope, thank you very much. We did have questions, item D and E. Craig Brown, $21,000 for 475 email addresses. Email
Yes,
accounts.
through the chair. So the cost is $21,603 for Microsoft government class licenses, not regular user licenses. The pricing is set by Microsoft. We actually got a bulk discount through CDW for these licenses. You cannot find these licenses any cheaper because CDW is considered one of the highest level providers for these items.
Thank you. Kyle, question about the swings.
Through the chair, the original purchase is to replace a broken swing set, and then the additional are the backups for that. So no, they are not handicapped.
Thank you. All right. I'll ask again, any other changes to the consent calendar? Seeing none? Is there any?
My light is on.
I apologize, it's not on. You can see it right here.
Okay.
Councilwoman Green, you have a change to the consent calendar?
Are you asking for a discussion?
Well, if you have a change to consent calendar, we don't deliberate the consent. So if you want to move something off to new business, this is where you could do that.
Right, but you're asking for, this is
That's
discussion.
basically what it is. It's discussion to move an item off.
I make a motion to move item I, on the consent calendar, over to new business.
I'll support it for discussion.
There's a motion by Councilwoman Green, supported by Councilman Hersberg, to move item I to the new business. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Seeing no dissent, item is moved to new business. Item 1A. Is there any other changes to the consent calendar? Any dissent? Any dissent? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously.
Council has approved the following consent calendar items. Approval of minutes of the regular meeting held June 21, 2021. Approval of minutes of the closed study session held June 21, 2021. Approval of bid for drinking fountain replacement. Administration recommended the low bidder, Rolls Mechanical, total amount not to exceed $36,276. Approval of purchase of 475 email licenses from CDWG, amount not to exceed $21,603. Approval of purchase of swing set seat packages from Game Time, amount not to exceed $5,890.41. Approval of video storage upgrade proposal from Studio Tyson, amount not to exceed $12,149. Approval of contract for the mortgage foreclosure counseling program to National Faith Home Buyers for a fee of $850 per application, and that the Director of Housing and Community Development sign the agreement on behalf of the city. Approval of subscription renewal for the city's mobile application, Westland Click and Fix, amount not to exceed $14,446.91. The last item approved on the consent calendar today, adoption of ordinance 248A109, an ordinance to rescind the temporary moratorium on applications for land use approval, permits, or licenses to establish new automobile gas stations. This item had been introduced June 21, 2021.
Item K.
I don't have an item K.
Establish a request for funding designated agent.
Thank you for providing me a copy of item K. Adopt resolution to establish a request for funding, designate an agent, attest to the existence of funds, and commit to implementing a maintenance program along Palmer Road from just west of Hamilton Avenue to Christine Road. And thank you. We'll now move to new business item 1. Approve request that the public hearing to review the proposed brownfield plan for the former LOE site be set for July 19, 2021.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Godbout, supported by Councilman Londo. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Seeing no dissent, motion carries unanimously.
New business, item 1A. Approval of request to reprogram CDBG and home funds from the homeless prevention to foreclosure counseling and from micro enterprise station to water filling.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Hersberg. Supported by Councilman Godbout. Joanne, do you have anything you want to add?
Through the chair, just to share that the homelessness prevention was approved by City Council. That program was successfully completed, and so there was the excess funds, and that will bolster the mortgage foreclosure counseling portion of the CARES Act funds approved by City Council to be used that way. And then also the water filling stations will be converting the drinking fountains at Jefferson Barnes Community Center, the Dorsey Center, and the Friendship Center from drinking fountains to water filling, touchless water filling stations, all to help prevent the COVID or any other future pandemics or flu seasons or things of that sort.
Thank you. I have discussion from Councilwoman Green.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair to Joanne, I'm looking at page 33 of our packet, and it says, City Council approved $15,000 for the mortgage foreclosure program. Additional funds will benefit this project. So you're asking for additional funding or to reallocate additional funding in the amount of $7,339 from the homeless prevention program to the foreclosure counseling program. If City Council approved $15,000, why are you requesting a reallocation to boost the total approval to roughly more than $22,000?
Through the chair, again, as I shared, the homelessness prevention primarily helped people who weren't able to pay their rent due to the COVID. And Wayne Metro Community Action Agency has received many, $45 million to help out Wayne County families who are not able to pay their rent or utilities. So the city cannot use the CARES Act fund for that purpose, because it would be a duplication of efforts, and the HUD guidelines are very clear that we cannot use funds to duplicate efforts of other programs. And so the recommendation is that this would support families as the mortgage foreclosure moratorium ends. This would help families with counseling so that they're able to remain in their homes and not lose their homes due to their inability to pay their mortgages due to COVID situations. So it's an anticipation that the funds will assist that additional need. And if we find that the funds aren't needed for that purpose, they're certainly not needed for homelessness prevention any longer. And so just trying to put them to the new program that we're beginning. And of course, I would come back to City Council if the funds aren't needed for that purpose after we implement the program.
Thank you. When you say you can't duplicate a program, what does that mean?
Under the CARES Act funding that was approved by Congress in April of 2020, the funds that come through the Department of Housing and Urban Development through the Community Development Block Grant Program, we have very strict guidelines on how those funds can be used. And if there are other programs to assist people, such as helping people pay their rent and utilities to prevent homelessness, then the city cannot duplicate those efforts. And since Wayne Metro Community Action Agency has received such a large amount for that purpose, the city of Westland can no longer use its CARES Act funds for that same reason.
How much CARES Act funding do we have left from that was supposed to help people pay their back rent and prevent eviction and all of that?
City Council approved $254,000 and some change for the homelessness prevention back in May of 2020, and we used all of those funds except for $7,339.
Okay. I ask because I recall I believe you sent an email to City Council months ago, because there were still families in the city of Westland who wanted to apply for some of that funding. Some of them contacted me, and they were told by your office that the funding was depleted many months ago. And you are now stating today that you're stating that we have $7,300 left, when families were told that the funds were gone months ago, and you now want to take that funding and transfer it over to a contract that's going to be paid out to the National Faith Home Buyers Company?
Through the chair. So at the time that we finished the program in February of this year, that is when Wayne Metro Community Action Agency received news of the SARA funding, which was approved by Congress in November of 2020. And that's why at that time it was not sensible or allowable for the city of Westland to continue using the funds for the homelessness prevention. And to be honest, the funds available under the SARA program for rent assistance was much better. They could provide up to 12 months of rent, 12 months of utility assistance, both going back and going forward. So because they had so much more money than the city of Westland, it was in all of those the few additional applicants who might have reached out to us in February, it was much more in their benefit to receive funding under the SARA program. Me and my staff provided all the information to them. We worked with Wayne Metro to make sure that their applications were processed and that they were able to receive the benefits under the SARA program.
Okay, and actually, it was in February of this year. Your office was telling Westland residents that we didn't have any money in 2020, in the end of last year, was when residents started contacting.
That we approved applications through February. The last payments were made in February. We processed many applications in January, ended up with the final processing of applications in February. We did not turn away applicants prior to that time.
Okay, well, you sent an email to City Council and told us all the money was spent, and now you're stating tonight that it is not spent. Like, it's just a conflict in terms of what is happening with our money. My other question is, the $15,000 that we actually budgeted for this company, the counseling that they receive is not a monetary benefit to their household. It's essentially, it's equivalent to financial counseling and a program that a lot of organizations require them to go through if they want to get, most of the people who get that type of counseling, they're applying for first-time home buyers funding. So this is not, there's really no monetary benefit to them to go through this program. It's more of an educational benefit to go through a program for foreclosure prevention. And so my question is, this company, National Faith Home Buyers, has been in the news when the city, I'm just really curious about us giving them another $73,100+. They were listed in the news with that story when the city of Taylor was raided for real estate contracts. And so now we budgeted $15,000 for this company, and we're going to give them another $7,300 today. That was not, that the city council was not requested to give from a front funding source that you told city council many months ago was depleted. There's no out clause. The contract that you wrote gives them a 2-year contract to do all of that type of education for the city of Westland, and there's no cancellation clause in that contract for the city at all. And that's actually, unfortunately, what Westland does when we write these contracts for contractors. We don't protect ourselves. So we're actually locked into we would be locked into a contract with this company until June 30th of 2023 with no opportunity to even make a different decision if we decide that this isn't what we'd like to do. And I'm just not in agreement with giving them arbitrarily another $7,300 for a program that has no monetary benefit to our residents when we could have taken this funding and helped more residents pay for eviction. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but we actually were doing evictions in the city of Westland. There were still residents going to court for non-payment. And so we had at least $7,300 that we could have used to help some of these families. Some of them, we could have helped them pay their water bill. And we're going to give this to an outside contractor when you told us we didn't even have the money months ago. So I can't support it. Thank you.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes, a few questions. So obviously you mentioned that Wayne Metro Act is, with the SARA funding is taking over, homelessness prevention. In regards to the counseling itself, where can residents, if pending this, approval tonight, where can residents go within your office to sign up and receive the counseling?
Through the chair, National Faith Home Buyers has an office at the Jefferson Barnes Community Vitality Center through a lease agreement approved by City Council.
Okay, and then nothing further. That's
Nothing further. Is there any other discussion? Is there any dissent?
Yes.
Roll call.
Councilman Godbout. Yes. Councilwoman Green.
No.
Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Pro Tem Londo.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes. New business, item 2. Adoption of the prepared resolution authorizing the disposition of one property, 2609 Cascade Court, acquired under the Community Development Block Grant, Home and City Redevelopment Programs to the adjoining property owners and eligible buyers in exchange for the resulting public purpose. This item is approved. The mayor and city clerk are authorized to sign the quitclaim deed for this property on behalf of the city, and the Director of Housing and Community Development is authorized to sign the closing documents for the sale of these properties on behalf of the city.
Motion by Councilman Landau, supported by Councilwoman Rutkowski. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Seeing no dissent, motion carries unanimously.
New business item 3 has been removed. New business item 4, approval of voucher.
Is there a discussion?
Should be a motion, so I'll move.
Oh, sorry. Is there a motion? There, Councilman Godbout, thank you. Is there support? Support. Support by Councilman Murkowski. There was a question on the vouchers. Steve Smith, or Mayor?
Sorry about that, through the chair. Yeah, that's the annual fee for the United States Conference of Mayors. So.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Is there any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Seeing no dissent, motion carries unanimously. We now move into public comment. Everyone speaking before the council should do so in a civil manner. Speakers shall refrain from abusive or profane remarks, vulgar language, disruptive outbursts, threats, racial slurs, or other conduct that interferes with the orderly business meeting. Personal attacks on council members, the administration, city staff, other speakers, or members of the public will not be tolerated. The clock will start upon the first words of the speaker and will not stop while the speaker is recognized from the floor. It is the speaker's option to ask questions at this time, and the person questioned may choose to respond during the speaker's allotment of time. However, the clock will not be stopped once it is started. Is there anyone on my right? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Leslie Resnick, and I actually have a couple things that I'd like to address, so I'll try to address the first one very quickly. I am trying to organize, along with another gentleman, a mayoral debate or forum, and I spoke to the Parks and Rec Department about pavilion rental and wanted to put forth to the council as to whether or not that cost can be waived for this, since it's in the best interest of the city. So if that's something that can be put on the next agenda, that would be appreciated. The next item I'd like to address is the illegal dumping at Hawthorne Valley. I live next door at Hawthorne Valley Apartments, and I was very upset when I discovered that items were just dumped on the ground 150 feet from the Rouge River, and that's a rivershed, that's a watershed. So if there had been any rain or anything like that, I don't know who made the decision to do that, but it was irresponsible. It was not taking into account the residents who live right there and had to smell it. I spoke to a gentleman from Eagle, Michigan Environmental, Great Lakes, and Energy today, and he indicated that he had spoken to folks at the city and that it was indeed approved by the city. And it just seems to me that, number one, and also the city did not get a permit. an emergency permit. And I was told by Mr. Morrow at Eagle that Vic Barra, I think is his name, who's facilities director, said that he didn't know that there was a permit required. Well, I'm just a normal person, and I know, and I don't have any experience in this area, that you can't just dump hazardous waste, and it was hazardous. It had human fecal matter in it. It had potentially asbestos because it had building materials that had been pulled out of homes, as well as electronics items that can leach into groundwater and get into the river. Rouge River is already polluted enough. I know we've made some strides in that, but so I'm very upset with the city for having done this, for having made the decision to do this, to not even bother getting the proper permits, and then once, they didn't actually take any action whatsoever until citizens like myself. I filed a complaint with Eagle, and my complaint and another person complained apparently is what spurred Eagle to actually go out and inspect the site Saturday morning. So I would just like some accountability for this and to find out why there's not already an emergency plan in action where all of this information is identified and disseminated. Thank you.
Thank you. Starting on my left. Sir.
Richard Graham, again with Move Westland Forward. Council President Hart, it was interesting that you allowed a board commission member, Arthur Warren, to bring up campaign literature of a mayoral candidate and didn't say anything about it while he was speaking. While on this subject, about 30 days from now, we will start seeing Team Wild members publicly go after non-Team Wild members via mail, Facebook, etc. So get ready. To remind everybody, residents back in 2017 where now Council President Hart ran an ad in the same paper that Mr. Warren paid for regarding racism charges against a sitting council member, a now state representative, and 2 taxpayers. So get ready, folks. It's coming. It was pretty bad 4 years ago. Councilman Landau, it is shameful to see your Facebook post going after 2 of your fellow council members, Herzberg and Green. It was very unprofessional and immature. What Mr. Landau was trying to spin was the no votes by Herzberg and Green. Remember, Team Wild did not want the special council meeting, so they did not want to talk about the flood spending. Herzberg and Green wanted to approve the flood spending, but only at $500,000 and not the $1 million blank check given to Mayor Wild that's also coming out of the water and sewer fund instead of the rainy day general fund surplus. Rainy day is kind of interesting. Thank you, Councilman Herzberg, to force the special council meeting and a discussion. Westland's slogan is Mission Green. Amazing whoever came up with the brilliant idea to dump sewage waste at Hawthorne Valley. Deputy Mayor Reddy, this is not a secure site. People have been going there for years. Example, all the fires. Plus the runoff going into the river system, Rouge River. Whoever can answer were the proper, well, we found out actually the proper permits weren't filed, and there could be fines of up to $10,000 a day. Residents had to suffer because of the smell. A resident also asked us, why is the bulk trash pickup picking up black and blue bins at the same time? Just as a note, I also brought my environmental science book. If anybody would like to brush up, 25 years ago, dumping hazardous waste was bad then. It's still bad now, so if anybody wants it, please ask, and I can let you borrow it. Through the chair to Mayor Wild, I will again ask, if you are sworn in as mayor in January 22, will you serve your full term 4 years as mayor, or will you select, go after another elected position within the state of Michigan? Do you care to borrow the book, or you care to answer the question? I've asked it 4 times. I'll keep coming and asking. You answered 4 years ago.
Time's up, sir. Thank you.
Okay. I'll be back in 2 weeks and ask. What was that?
All right. Please, keep it orderly. Sir.
council. I'm very glad to see there's a lot of people caring about the environment and everything that happened at Hawthorne. I have, I guess, a few things to say. For just in general, I would love to see all contracts that the council votes on to be put up on the city website. I know there's city council members that haven't seen contracts in its full, and you guys vote on them still. So I would love to see this, just so there's no hidden items or things that aren't discussed at these meetings. Regarding the Hawthorne Country Club being turned into a landfill, I did contact the EPA today. So it seems for a city to give blight tickets out to property owners, but then to do it themselves on their own property, the hypocrisy, it blows my mind. And blight is a misdemeanor. I would love to know who did it. Now, under the EPA, you can get fines between $20 and $50, I think it's $55,500. So I have a question, Mayor Wild. Whoever made this decision, if they cause the city to lose that kind of money, are you willing to fire them? I understand you owned a company, and I have business too. I would fire my person. Would you fire the person who made that decision?
I'm going to make some comments on Hawthorne Valley in my closing comments.
Okay, give me, pause. Okay, I get 10 seconds left. So I was wondering who was in charge, who did it, because all of you, I think most of you voted for recycling. Save the earth, right? Well, we have soil and water contamination, sewage, chemicals. Everyone knew this, but no one's speaking up. Not only that, the biohazard, but this attracts rats. So the people who live nearby, they might have rat infestations, pests, roaches, or whatever it might be. This is a huge health concern. I hope the EPA contacts somebody. Now the homeless prevention, I'm glad Ms. Green brought that up. Now, this wasn't advertised by the city of Westland. I brought it up, I think it was in December actually, and Joanne told me and my tenants that the funds were exhausted. There wasn't any money left. Now, in a 2-month period, which I believe between December and February, it went from $190,000 approximately to zero. That didn't make sense to me either. Back then, she told to contact Wayne Metro. Wayne Metro had a thing going on. The rules changed now, makes no sense.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up.
I don't get 10 seconds for?
No, because if you listen, the clock will not be stopped once it is started. I explained that.
Okay, but someone talks. Okay. All right, have a good night.
Yeah. Is there anyone on my right? Anyone on my left? Oh, sorry.
First of all, my uncle was Wayne County Drain Commissioner for years, and it's always been known that my mind's not going. The park was put there as a park so that the water could go there, the flooding wouldn't affect all the other homes. It's a park second and a water draw first. And people should find out their facts before they get up here and make remarks.
All right, okay. No disruptive outbursts, come on. Anybody on my left? Sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a spokesperson for the Westland Citizens Against Corruption. Bill Wild lied about always having a balanced budget. In 2010, city was in debt over $200,000. Bill Wild embezzled over $500,000 from the library in June to balance the budget.
Sir, calling him an embezzler, that's a personal attack.
He did so against the library wishes, and they were livid and he did not put the money back until September, and Dwayne Moody was a member of that board. And Wild told them that he was not going to take that money. In the first meeting in June, he had the council vote on it. And Dwayne Moody said, you just did that so we wouldn't have a chance to hire an attorney and fight you. A point of interest, James Godbelt was caught for not paying his water bills for 3 years and even admitted it at council on tape. He owned a resident at the time valued at over $300,000. He gave Marvaso over $20,000, so I think he could afford to pay his water bills. In 2009, the police and fire retirement pensions were 104% funded, 104%, now only 70.5%. We are $1.3 billion in debt. Westland presently is in a state of financial cardiac arrest. Bill Wild gave out 5-year generic buyouts and let police and fire retire with full pensions after only 20 years of employment, against the written advice of Mark Bias, the actuary expert for the Police and Fire Retirement Fund, and we have it on paper. Our charter has a term called self-funding. Wild can raise your millage without a vote, without your vote. The self-funding means anything the police and fire needs for retirement and health insurance, they can raise it. Bill Wild raised your millage from 3.3 mils up to 8 mils. 8 mils. That involves $14 million a year now we're contributing. It would still be at 3.5 mils if he hadn't went against the wishes of our actuary report. He only has a high school degree. We're paying all these experts millions of dollars.
That's another personal attack.
No, this is fact. We pay millions of dollars, our city, for experts. These directors, $850,000 retainer fee for our city attorney, OHM engineering, actuary, plant and Moran audit, and he doesn't either take their advice or he circumvents them. The actuary report, actually now in 2018, the actuary report from Mark Bias states it will take 100 years before the fund is 100% funded again. So the police and fire have been cheated.
Thank you, sir. Your time's up. Okay, anyone in the back? Sir.
Hello, Council. My name is Josh Powell. I'm switching gears a little bit from what we're currently talking about. 4 days ago, Title 42 ended, the emergency health order requiring undocumented migrants be returned to the southern border. I wanted to bring attention to the Washington Post article titled, "The Biden Administration Considers Flying Migrants to States Near the Canadian Border for Processing." In the article, the Washington Post obtained an email from ICE requesting up to 1,000 families and 4,500 undocumented immigrants be flown to the Detroit airport. I just wanted to see if there was a plan or discussion by the government of Westland to deal with the possibility that some of these families or unaccompanied minors may be housed in Westland, and if so, where the money would be coming from, or if any federal funds had been given or offered to offset the costs that may be incurred. I know Representative Lisa McCain of the 10th District requested information from ICE, but so far no response has been given from her. That's all. If you want to respond, you can.
Thank you. Anybody on my right? Sir.
All right, Go Ray here is always on the go. Anyway, I want to say a couple things positively for a change. First of all, I went to the event in Westland, and I want to recognize Kyle, and he has done an awesome job keeping these parks up and going. I took a ride in some of them. And also the event where it was really good to see everybody again, the Westland police officers, the fire department, and some other people from the city I was talking to. I really enjoyed that night. So then on it's Mental Health Month, of course, I'm going to be going out in August. I'm going to start giving out dates to the fire departments and stuff and going out and do a presentation because mental health, still got to take it to the road. It's very important to me. A lot of times we take a rug here and we shove it underneath the rug. And people go through a lot of different things, and sometimes we don't know what they're going through. And that's why we're out there trying to give them resources and stuff like that. And also number 3, not one person in here said anything nice about kindness, about what about the city helping out people that were in trouble with the flooding. People with disabilities, I mean, seniors and stuff that needed help. And I kind of look at the picture this way. Where could we put that furniture or whatever it was? There, people are talking about that riverfront there, but maybe it could have been handled differently. Sometimes people make mistakes. We got to learn from them. Thank you.
Anyone on my left? Yes.
Sarah Austin, Westland resident. So kind of tacking on to what the previous speaker was addressing, I think we can all look and see that our neighbors were looking out for each other when these storms hit. We saw people helping out their neighbors. I want to give a shout out and thanks to the city for the communication to residents on what to do and how to get help with getting things out of their basement and getting those emergency pickups. And also to the city council members who not only on their campaign or their official pages, but also on their personal pages, were sharing information to our residents and personal stories in some cases where, for example, Councilman McDermott was sharing what was happening because he was impacted by it. And I think that that really spoke to our residents about the fact that though you all sit up there on the dais, you're people too, and you care about each other and you care about our community. And I just want to say thank you as a resident. And also thank you to the DPW staff and all the city staff that worked insane hours and was helping out with getting these things cleaned up. You know, they really were the unsung heroes, and you know, maybe there was issues with what ultimately happened, but at the end of the day, those men and women were working overtime hours to make sure that our residents had things picked up. So I just want to say thank you to them for all the work they put in. And also thank you for the forward thinking about putting water filling stations in, because drinking fountains are gross, even pre-COVID. So that was a great idea, and thank you for bringing that up. Thanks.
All right, anybody on my right? Anybody on my left, sir?
Good evening, Bob Johnson, Westland. I'd just like to take this opportunity. I watched the special meeting the other night, and I'd like to thank the mayor and administration for stepping forward and making sure that, you know, when the city's residents' health and welfare and safety is affected, it is the number one goal of the mayor to step forward and try to do what they can to rectify these challenges. And I'd like to thank the administration for stepping up and helping those that was affected. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience? Yes.
Lori Wilson, Westland. I want to first and foremost thank all the candidates that are running for any office that participated in the Norwayne Citizens Council and the 28th Precinct's Citizens Forum, Candidates Forum. We thank you, we appreciate it. The people now know who some of our candidates are. They don't know who all of them are because all of them didn't show up. They didn't participate. And the only thing I'm going to say personally for myself, if you can't come speak to me, don't speak for me. Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience? Yes.
Hi, good evening. Mayor, City Council, Deanna Stachel. As a member of the Norway Community Citizen Council, I would like to just let the general public and members or people sitting in the audience here that there's going to be an outdoor movie Saturday, July 24th, and it'll be at the Lincoln Johnson Field at 33800 Grand Traverse. And all are welcome at that time, and look forward to, let's see, and also too, that Mad Science activities begin at 2 p.m., movie begins at 3 p.m., and then there's going to be refreshments as well. Now, speaking as Deanna Stachel from the citizen of Westland. Through the chair to the chief, I would like to know just for my own benefit and anyone else's, is there some type of law in regards to the destruction of political campaign signs or stealing of signs, just so that who's ever viewing or anyone sitting in the audience might know what the law is? Because I don't, and I was just wondering if there was something regarding that.
Through the chair, I'd have to do a little research on things placed on public property, so I don't know that answer off the top of my head, but I can get back to you with that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was just wondering because I know that those signs are quite costly. And just for now and future, it's really unfair for any damage or theft to occur to those signs. So, and I know we all would like to have a good political race.
Through the chair, I'd maybe clarify, anything that's on your private property is obviously your property, and that would be theft stolen from your property, but if you're referring to signs that are put out on the public roadway, I'd have to look into that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, anyone else in the audience? Sir.
Hello, my name is Pastor Edward Pruitt, and I'm a resident of Westland, and I'm thankful for how the community came together through this crisis. As mentioned Friday, the mayor needed funding allocations, and I'm glad we got him the funding. Thankful to Councilman Peter Hertzberg and all that supported. I also mentioned that there were issues which needed to be addressed. Then wasn't the time, now is. And when even one of our residents has an issue, it should be serious enough for someone to stand up for them. And I stand before you today feeling the same feelings as many of our residents concerned. The concerns are in regards to the handling of the flood crisis, as well as the dumping at Hawthorne Valley and the decisions made throughout. And just as many of the residents who were concerned, I am concerned as well. As we look back through what's occurred since 2020 and into 2021, we find that the government of Westland has continuously found themselves mixed up in scandal, whether it be a governmental cover-up of the brutalization of an autistic man or the failure to have a public, fair, and transparent interview process for open positions, or the alleged pay-for-play vaccine scandal. And the most recent scandal is this: illegal dumping. With each of these scandals and others, Westland City Council has failed to hold a public investigation. Today, July 6, 2021, upon my own investigation into concerns a resident had, I had a conversation with Greg Morrow of Eagle. That's a state agency that investigates environmental issues. This agent also issues permits and waivers. Upon my investigation, Mr. Morrow confirmed that the government of Westland did not seek out a permit. It was not until after Eagle received 2 complaints from 2 residents that Eagle investigated and contacted the government of Westland, and that a permit was issued. This was not a retroactive waiver, but the enforcement components for actions prior to were not going to be considered. This failure by the administration had the potential to put the Westland residents in a position of civil liabilities to the tune of approximately $10,000 per day because it funnels down to them for illegal dumping. This would have been a hefty fine, and that would have funneled, like I said, down to the residents. Thankfully, Westland residents do not have to bear the burden of Mayor Wild's failure in this area to appropriately procure a permit or waiver. In addition, the overall analysis, speaking with and confirmed with Mr. Morrow, was that this was illegal dumping. This scandal, and it's a scandal that needs to be investigated. It is one that needs to be investigated. So, Council, will you take the time to actually investigate this through a public investigation so that we can look and see what the responsiveness and preparedness is? Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience? All right, I will close citizens' comments and move to comments from the administration. Mayor.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. First, there were a couple of things from the audience that I'll address first, and then I'm going to give council an update on the storm response, and there was some questions about Hawthorne Valley, so I'll talk about that. The first question was about immigration, as far as would the city of Westland be taking any detainees from ICE. I have not received any communications from the federal government asking us would we take any detainees, and the chief has not informed me that they've asked him either, so we'll just put that down as a no for that question. And then the other gentleman that had asked me a question and I didn't respond, and it may feel a little awkward, it look a little awkward, but I'll just say it one last time, is so this gentleman has been fighting a one-sided war against me for 7 years. So I don't respond to him on Facebook, and I don't respond on here at City Council either. So next I'm going to move on to, I want to talk about our DPS. In light of the storm that we had in the city of Westland, our DPS department has really stepped up. I mean, I know that some people weren't happy with Hawthorne, but at the end of the day, I mean, our firefighters and police officers really stepped up during COVID. Our firefighters really stepped up when vaccinations came along. But our DPS department stepped up just as much on this storm as either of our other public safety departments. When you get into a situation like this, there's not necessarily a playbook, because things like this never happen the same way twice. And cities of Detroit and all the way back out here towards Westland all experience flooding, and everybody has to respond the best they can with what they have to work with and the manpower they have to work with, and so on and so forth. So as we sit here tonight, the city has made a lot of progress. I know we had a special meeting on Friday night where we gave a pretty comprehensive update, but just since then we've made tremendous progress. When you looked at the amount of material that was at the curb, we had to make the quick decision. There was more at the curb than our regular trash trucks could handle, and because of the wetness of the materials, the stuff that was in people's basements, and with an upcoming holiday weekend, we made the decision we were going to try to get it off people's curbs as quick as we could. So, and I talked about this the other night, that we chose to use the city's property at Hawthorne Valley, and one thing that's clear for residents that didn't totally understand what happened there is that we certainly did not use the entire former golf course as a dumping site. What we used was the southerly portion of the parking lot, starting at and when you think about where the building was or building is, we used the parking lot as a transfer site. And what does that mean? Our DPS guys were going door to door with trailers and pickup trucks and flatbeds and anything else that we could get our hands on, and trying to haul the stuff away. And we talked about, with the people that lived in the north end, taking trips all the way to the DPS yard and getting back was taking too much time. So we used two sites, the DPS yard and the parking lot of Hawthorne Valley. The intent was to have roll-off dump boxes at Hawthorne Valley so that we could transport stuff to the dump boxes. Well, in the beginning, and keep in mind too, is that the event started on this Friday night, Saturday morning. So we're working through weekends and holidays, and then every other city that you saw on the news is trying to get the exact same thing that we are: roll-off boxes, packer trucks, and so on and so forth. So it all came down to just we were bringing more material than we were getting dump boxes. But with that said, progress has been made, and if you go by Hawthorne Valley on your way home tonight or tomorrow morning, you take a look at it, as that site, the transfer site, we're no longer using it. It's been cleaned up. The materials have been hauled away, and they also spent some time on the landscaping there to make the place look a little bit nicer. So we do still have material at the DPS yard, but once again, we've made an incredible amount of progress there. And if you've seen the dump boxes coming in and out of DPS and the front end loaders and everything else, it's been a tremendous amount of work in a short period of time. So with that said, I want to just give council just a real quick update on where we're at to date. I talked with the trash haulers tonight about 5 o'clock to try to get the most up-to-date information I could. They tell me that trash, recycling, and compost are current. Storm debris is running 1 or 2 days behind your regular trash. So let me talk about what that means. So remember, we pick up trash in the recycling with the trucks that have the electric arms on the side. We're picking up storm debris with Packer trucks. So they're different trucks, but so at this point, it's been important that we keep up with trash because we don't want to fall behind on that. So they tell me that currently trash, recycling, and compost are current, and storm debris is running 1 or 2 days behind your regular trash. So if you, like, let's just say tomorrow's Wednesday, and if you put out your trash to the curb and you have storm debris, there's a good chance that the trash or recycling or compost is going to be picked up, but your storm debris may not be picked up for the next couple days. We're going to continue to stay at it. Our DPS is continuing to work with the trash haulers, so we're taking that stuff back to the DPS yard. Our goal is that by the next council meeting is that we're not talking about storm debris anymore, that I think that if we stay at it, we'll have it handled by then. We're going to continue to ask people that want special pickups, that if it's not storm related, try to hold on to it for another week or two for us so that we can continue, because we use the same trucks for special pickups as that we're using for storm debris. So let's be, fair to the people that have storm debris in their front yard. Let's give them a little bit more time before we put out our regular special pickup. So with that said, progress is made, and we're going to continue to put this behind us. I do not expect any issues with Eagle as far as the sites at either the DPS yard or Hawthorne Valley. Also, if you look over at that table over there, we have the contents of, the city received 500 cleanup kits from Wayne County, and that's basically what they look like. They come in a 5-gallon bucket, and there's a lot of cleaning supplies. We have 500 of those available. If you call City Hall, we're going to make them available. Our security guard will make sure that you get them when you come in. We also still have sanitizer and brooms from our DPS department that you can either contact DPS or you can call the mayor's office, and we'll make sure that you get those. So we're gonna keep working at it. We've made a lot of progress, and I'm pretty proud of the people that work in the city of Westland, because their major goal was to try to get stuff off people's curbs before the 4th of July, and for the most part, they were able to do that. So, and they worked in extremely hot weather and over the holidays. So Ramsey's not here tonight. He's got a personal issue that he's personally dealing with, but Doug's here tonight if council had any other questions. But if not, just the last couple of things is just because of the storm, the Wayne County Household Hazardous Collection Day, which was scheduled for this weekend at Westland Shopping Center, is going to be postponed to a later date. The citywide garage sale, which was also going to be this weekend, July 10th and 11th, we're going to push that back until the last weekend in July, so it'll be now July 31st and August 1st. So we'll make sure word gets out on that. And just the last thing is just remember on July 21st, we're going to be back at Corrado Park for a community gathering. We're going to have our police and fire out there and our DPS guys out there, so it'd be a great chance to shake a couple hands with the folks from DPS, and they'll have the equipment out there that night too that they use to help us get through this storm event. That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from the city attorney today?
No. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now moving to council comments, beginning with Councilman Herzberg.
Thank you, Council President. Yeah, real quick too, I just want to thank the mayor and his staff again for that really lengthy and informative update on Friday at our meeting. And I want to thank all the DPS workers for all their hard work, working over the weekend and working over the holiday. I really appreciate that we've gotten Hawthorne Valley cleaned up by now. That got a little more complaints from the neighborhood than I think anybody had anticipated. And then there was a comment regarding creating an emergency plan for future floods. As the mayor said, each flood's not going to be the same, but I do think maybe that's something we should look at to see what what we can do to have ready, whether it's these cleaning kits or just a plan of action if this happens again. Nobody saw it coming at that flood. It happened overnight and in the middle of the night. Well, I also want to thank Mo, our planning director. He gave that update at the beginning of the meeting about the walk and roll plan. You know, I did have a couple questions for him. I'll get with him in his office, but he did mention that we've identified a lot of sidewalk gaps throughout town, and he did mention that we got grants to fill some of those too, so I'm gonna try to get those details and share those at a later date. And then the last thing I would want to mention is that I think the next council meeting, we're having a public hearing on the Eloise plans. If we could just get some sort of information on the city website so people can see that before the public hearing, I would appreciate it. And that's it for me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Green.
Thank you. I would like to start tonight by thanking our DPW team for the hard work that they've done throughout our city and the work that they continue to do in response to the flood. Also wanted to give a special thanks to Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, who was instrumental in getting information down here to our Westland elected officials, Wayne County officials as well. There were several conference calls. I was on a call earlier today with FEMA, and there will be more information coming to Westland residents really soon. So I just want to thank those who are in a position to get that information to us, me specifically, so that I was able to share a lot of it with Westland residents. Also want to thank all of our first responders, police and fire and EMS, those who might have been responding through the flood, going through flood waters, assisting families. You guys run towards danger when everybody else is running away from it, so thank you so much for your service. Secondly, there was a comment regarding damage to campaign signs. I just wanted to clarify what Michigan law states, which is that it is a misdemeanor to, if you are caught damaging, pulling, stealing campaign signs. It's not only a misdemeanor, it's punishable up to 93 days in jail and a fine of up to $500. And I also think it's unfair to target people. The campaign signs and literature are the most expensive part of any campaign. And when I tell you expensive, it is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to purchase just that, not accounting for anything else to run a campaign. It's actually, it's ridiculous. And if you think pulling a campaign sign out of the ground or ripping one down is going to stop somebody from voting for their candidate, it won't. It won't stop anybody from voting for me if they support me. It won't stop anybody from voting for the mayor. It's not going to stop anybody from voting for anybody who's running for office. The only thing it'll do is motivate people who find out about it on social media. You will trigger sympathy from people who never probably would have supported them, and then they'll get more votes. That happened to me the first time around. So I would just encourage people not to do that, because you're not going to stop the community from deciding who they want in leadership. And whomever that is, just let it be what it is. And I don't know who's doing it, but what I will say is that nobody's signs were removed in the city of Westland by the city workers' ordinance until my signs went out. And I was one of the last people to put signs out. And the city, there were campaign signs placed by multiple people running for office. The mayor and most of the people he's supporting. I took pictures of their signs, and I've set my signs right next to theirs because their signs were already in place. And the ordinance department went around and they pulled out, the Westland ordinance pulled out about 25 of my signs. My signs hadn't even been out for a full week. And one of the Westland residents, I actually got multiple calls from Westland residents. One lady chased a guy down the street and got his license plate number for me and the truck he was driving. She was so upset by it. I got a call from a Westland resident who told me that he confronted one of the ordinance workers for the city of Westland, and he asked him, why do you have 20 of her signs in the back of your truck? You don't have anybody else's signs in your truck. And he's like, oh, well, they were in the wrong place. And he said, you're telling me she's the only person running for office whose signs are in the wrong spot? And he said, and you know who that guy was? And I said, who? He said, it's the guy who used to sit on city council for 16 years, the one who lost when you won. And I contacted the head of ordinance and reported it. And that's not, this campaign season, when I don't remember who it was, when they said it's going to get very ugly. It's already ugly with this campaign. It's just ridiculous. People are still going to vote. For me, it's a win-win. Do I want to win? Yes. But my life is getting ready to take off either way it goes. So it's just stop that. It's not worth it. And not only is it happening from the ordinance department targeting candidates, specifically me, and I'm speaking for myself because I have the proof. This weekend, Councilman Londo made a post, or no, he responded to a post on the City of Westland campaign page. And his post slammed or threw me and Councilman Hertzberg under the bus, in my opinion. And I responded in a very professional manner to explain my action. And my comment was blocked from the City of Westland administration page as a city councilwoman. And I'm going to read to you my response to let the community know what was blocked. This is how bad it's gotten already, and we're only in July. My comment to Councilman Londo that the city blocked from viewing while they left his comment visible, and I was not aware until I got a screenshot from a Westland resident who said your comment has disappeared. My comment to Councilman Londo, due to what he said about me and Councilman Hertzberg, was, Councilman Londo, for the sake of complete transparency and truth for residents who were not present at today's meeting, I voted for additional funding to be approved after the estimated $500,000 is utilized. What I voted against today was wasteful spending and an open checkbook to the possibility of more enormous contracts and projects being extended to political campaign donors, as has been the case for many years. Requiring an account of funding to City Council once we reach the estimated $500,000 amount is, in my opinion, a vote in support of checks and balances on behalf of Westland residents who don't want their taxes to keep going up as a result of financial decisions recommended by the administration, which just happened with the sanitation millage due to the unprecedented trash contract the mayor put forward. I'm very hopeful that our water bills don't go up later, since the $1 million will be coming out of our water and sewer fund. Thanks. There was no derogatory wording, there were no swear words, there were no anything, no racial slurs, and that comment was blocked. I'm an elected official, and I couldn't even respond to a councilman who made a opinion about myself and a colleague that put us in a bad light. So me explaining my vote was banned. So when I tell you that this campaign is already dirty, people are already, I'm definitely being targeted. I'm definitely considered to be a threat for whatever reason, and none of this even matters to me. This is, like I said, a win-win situation. So people just need to stop, because you're not going to stop Westland residents for putting whomever they want in office. And it's very unnecessary, it's childish and immature. I digress. I also wanted to just say thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you for sharing your opinions with us. And even if your opinions we're not always in agreement, please know that I really do care about this city and these residents. I really genuinely do. And I'm looking forward to November more than anybody else, because there's a lot of changes getting ready to happen, and I just look forward to that. And I just really wish that people would grow up. And, you know, there's more that I can say about some of these people within the mayor's administration, of what is happening and on his watch. And also my signs being pulled out. The mayor has we got an email, all the candidates got an email from the ordinance department that they were going to start pulling out our signs. And the mayor not only put his signs out before the ordinance allowed, but he has a huge campaign sign. They haven't touched it. So why does the ordinance only apply to some of us? It is ridiculous. And like I said, it won't stop people from voting. So just stop, please. Thank you.
All set? Okay. Councilman Godbout.
Thanks. First, I'd like to thank all the DPS workers for all of their efforts in providing relief to the residents who were affected by the rain event. They did a great job. They're continuing to do a great job helping people out, getting the material off the streets. And, you know, again, they do an outstanding job for us and even step their game up more during this event. I'd like to acknowledge some of the, earlier we had an event here at City Hall for police retirement and a new swearing-in ceremony. So I'd like to congratulate Sergeant Sean Kenyon on his retirement from the police department after 25 years on the force. Sean's done a great job for the city, and he's going to be missed. But stepping in for Sean is one of our new hires that we swore in 4 new hires today, is his son Trevor, who was sworn in today at the event, as well as Sebastian Iversall, James Sermon, and Joseph Taylor. So congratulations and welcome to Westland to those new hires. There were also 2 promotions. Jennifer Schurig is now a sergeant, as is Tom Rogers got promoted to sergeant. So again, congratulations to all of those officers for their service. There was some discussion today, and there's been a lot of discussion on Facebook in regards to using the water and sewer fund for the storm event. And you know, there's a lot to go in that goes into municipal finance that doesn't appear on the surface. One of those things is our bond ratings. And the overall bond rating for the city, one of the things that affects that rating is our fund balance and our unreserved fund balance. And we recently just refinanced debt, and because of our bond rating, we were able to get, I believe it was a 2.39 on the one bond refinance and a 2.2 or 2.02 or 2.03 on another bond refinance. Before any of my colleagues here were on the council, Water and Sewer Fund also has a bond rating. And because of previous administrations taking money from general fund to supplement the Water and Sewer Fund, we had, in essence, a junk bond status for our Water and Sewer Fund, which we've corrected over time, and there are reserves in the Water and Sewer Fund. So the Water and Sewer Fund has working capital as of the end of the fiscal year of about $27.5 million. And based off of my discussions with finance, in spite of this water event, we expect the balance to be about the same on June 30th for next year, for this year, the next year. So it was a water and sewer event. The funds needed to be allocated out of Water and Sewer Department as appropriate accounting principles. And so that's why the motion was made to take it out of water and sewer versus general funds. And, you know, if we had, the other part of that was the fact that I made the motion to waive the bid procedure for this event. The bid procedure and bid process takes anywhere from 30 to 45 days to have it posted, to give the bidders time to reply, and in an emergency situation, we don't have time to wait 30 to 45 days to get the bid process back, particularly when we're utilizing contractors that we've already got a relationship with, that already have contracts in the city. So that was the other part of it. But to think that we were going to wait on Newburgh Road for the, what we still don't know, the repairs are going to be on that, for bid documents to be put together, for it to be posted, for bid replies to come back, you're looking at a long period of time, and we can't afford to wait that period of time to take action on an emergency event. So that's pretty much all I have to say on that. It's, I'm glad that we approved it. There was some discussion in regards to the 500,000 versus the million that I made the motion for, but if you added up all of the items that were already estimated to be spent, we were almost at that $500,000 already. So we would have been back having to make another appropriation at a time when we need to take action and not just, do feel-good things. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilwoman Rutkowski.
Good evening. As been mentioned, this evening we had a really nice ceremony with our police department. We welcomed new hires. Some of our current patrol officers received promotions, and as mentioned, we had the retirement ceremony. And as a wife of a public servant, I got a little emotional seeing the dad hand off his badge to his son, so that was really nice. I want to extend my gratitude again to our DPS and city employees that all have been working very diligently and to get us back on solid footing. Your efforts have not gone unnoticed. I'm really happy to see that the concerns of Hawthorne were taken seriously and that there's already a lot of progress made to get it back to its original standing as well. And I would just like to wish my son a happy birthday. Good night.
Councilman McDermott.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us again here in person. I too wanted to congratulate all of our officers. Sergeant Kenyon, who retired tonight after 25 years with the police department, the 4 new hires and the 2 promotions that we had. So, for those officers who are moving up the ladder, thank you for your continued dedication. And for the 4 new officers, including one of them being Sergeant Kenyon's son, thank you for joining our force. I know that trying to find new, good, qualified officers is harder than ever, so thank you for taking on the task and the sacrifice of joining us here in the city of Westland. We really appreciate that. In regards to, the storm and the subsequent water backup and flooding that occurred at lots of people's, homes throughout the city, I want to first thank all the residents for their patience on this. As someone who had a pile of junk in front of his house too, I know it's not easy to sit there and clear out your basement and rip up carpet and do all this stuff and have it sitting out there for a couple of days. But I know, thanks to the work of our DPS Director Ramsey, thanks to Doug Morton, thanks to Vic Barra, and thanks to all the DPS workers and the folks at Priority who are working around the clock to really get this remediated and off people's curbs. Really appreciate the work that you guys did, putting in overtime and then some to get that cleared. So, but again, most of all, I appreciate the patience shown by the residents as we work to remediate the situation. I did have some questions regarding the Eagle situation that I emailed in today to a couple of our directors. So when I get those answers back on Eagle, I will be sure to put them on my Facebook page. You can follow me at Councilman Mike McDermott, and I will share that information with you. The one question I did have too in regards to, and I'm asking it now because it was mentioned tonight, is in regards to the roll-off dumpsters. So I understand why Hawthorne was used as the site, and I'm not, per se against that. Trying to haul trash all the way across the city and having a spot on both sides of town to be able to put trash is one thing. But in regards to the roll-off dumpsters, I know that Priority, who we're contracted with for, waste management, has other clients besides the city of Westland. They have private contracts with businesses, and they also have cities with smaller communities. However, given that we are, their biggest municipal client, was there any effort, and this is going to sound bad, but was there an effort to kind of throw our weight around to be able to get Priority, no pun intended, on some of those roll-off dumpsters so we could have them staged? I know there were some that were staged at Hawthorne Valley, but so that we could have an adequate amount to cover the debris that went there. Obviously, it's hard to predict how much debris you're going to have because we don't know how many homes are affected right out of the gate. But I guess that would be my one question in regards to, the roll-off dumpsters. And if, for a future planning, putting something in place with Priority directly to say, hey, if a situation like this arises again or some kind of mass event where there's a lot of debris produced, can we get into a situation where we can have access to X amount of, roll-off dumpsters in that type of situation? But again, I want to thank everybody for, their hard work on this. Ramsey, Doug, Vic, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib for relaying the information. And most of all, our DPS workers who are out there busting hump day in and day out to make sure that this gets cleared. If you still have some debris that hasn't been picked up for whatever reason, please contact the DPS department. They're still going around picking up material, but if you feel you were missed for some reason, call DPS, and they will be able to help you with that as well. And then I know a couple of residents sent me an email in regards to some of these questions too, so just know that I will be getting back to you as soon as I get the response. And with that, I bid you all a good evening. Thank you.
Pro Tem Londo.
Thanks, President Hart. I'll keep my comments brief tonight. I want to start by thanking our Planning Director, Mo Ayoub, for his presentation on the walk-and-roll non-motorized plan, and for spending time with me earlier today to discuss it further since I wasn't able to attend last week at the public engagement meeting. Thanks to Councilman Godbout for clarifying a lot of the water and sewer questions. I was able to spend some time with the finance team as well and was given the same information, so thank you, Councilman Godbout. I also want to send my sincere thanks to all of our first responders, city staff members, and anybody else, volunteers or contractors that were involved in helping clear up our city amidst the severe flooding within the city. Thank you to the mayor and his team for the comprehensive update, not only tonight, but at the special council meeting on Friday, July 2nd. You guys did a really great job of showcasing what your team has been doing the entire time and what you continue to do to provide relief. If you haven't watched the meeting, it's still airing on WLND, and you can watch it also on the City of Westland's YouTube page. I had this down. Got to mention it earlier tonight. We had a promotional swearing-in ceremony for 4 new police officers. They named them earlier, but Trevor Kenyon, Sebastian Ivasil, James Sherman, and Joseph Taylor. In addition, we had 2 promotions to Jennifer Schurig and Thomas Rogers to the rank of sergeant. So congratulations to them on their much-earned promotions. And welcome to all the new recruits to the City of Westland as well. Also, Chief Judge Ruzick took a few minutes to recognize Sergeant Robert Kenyon, or Sean Kenyon, Sean Kenyon, for his 26 and a half years of service to the City of Westland. A lot of people know Sergeant Kenyon. He's been around for a long time, clearly. He's done an incredible job, and he's been a role model for his peers. I was able to go to his retirement get-together, I guess, and seeing the amount of people that were there that really respected this gentleman was incredible. And then obviously today, we had a standing room only crowd with not only him, but for everybody that was being promoted or sworn in today. So it was great to see his son be sworn in as well. Trevor's going to do a great job. I thought it was pretty cool that during Sergeant Kenyon's last week, he actually got to ride with his son. So not only did he get to ride with his son a day or two, he gave him his badge tonight at the swearing in ceremony. So I thought that was really, really, really neat. So that's all I got. Okay. Have a good evening.
Well, thank you. I'll be brief as well. Thank you, Londo, for leading the pledge. I appreciate that. And also congratulations to all of the officers that were sworn in today. I just echo all the sentiments from all of my colleagues. I wish you guys could have seen it. It was really cool. Seeing all those officers in here joining the force, getting promoted. And it's too bad, I think the chief had to bail on something, had something important, but I believe the Sergeant Jennifer Schurig, the first female sergeant, or no?
For this current rank, yeah.
Okay.
There was another one, Debbie.
Very good. Well, still, a very noteworthy accomplishment, and to all the officers, so I'm very thankful. For all those who did show up to the Bova fireworks over the weekend, thank you for coming out. I hope you enjoyed the show. And for those of you who didn't, just so you know, every year the VFW Bova 9885 does put on a pretty large fireworks show, gratis to the public. So all the members do donate their own money. So a little bit of money is donated from the post, and we do put on a large fireworks show, and that's always open to the public. We do it once a year. It's on the 4th of July every year. So if you're looking for a fireworks show, and some people just love following the fireworks shows, the 4th of July every year at the Bova 9885. Do come out and visit us next year. We sell off hot dogs for $1 or $2, and usually we give the drinks away to the kids till we run out. So coming out and visit us next time. It's a really good time. Everybody said it, but really, thank you to the DPS. I don't think you guys realized everybody else had weekends ruined, but so did they. A lot of these people, almost all of the DPS, really just sacrificed their entire vacation weekend, even those that weren't infected. Their families went off and, would have done things that their vacations were ruined, and they were staying here, and they were working 12-hour days plus. And that's a big testament to how hard they work. Never sell them short for how hard they work. And you know what? They don't hear the praise often. It's sometimes a very thankless job. I make sure I thank them every single time, and not just because who I am, but I understand what they go through. We've all had those kinds of jobs in previous lives, and I can really empathize with them. And I did everything I could. I saw a bunch of my bottom lunch. That's something really small, but it's a little gesture like that goes a really long way with them, especially when they're not used to hearing the accolades. So if you do see them out there, just, hey, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. With regards to the Hawthorne Valley, man, hindsight's always 20/20. We can always go back and armchair quarterback any single decision, but when it's in the middle of a situation like that, and I've talked to a couple of the residents and I've talked to my colleagues, and I'll still take Hawthorne as a transfer site over leaving all of that on people's lawns. For how long? Priority one was getting that off of people's lawns, getting it out of the neighborhoods, and getting it out there. I really believe that. I stand behind that. I think if we can come up with if there are all better alternatives, we can, evaluate those. But had I been in that exact same decision, I would have made the same choice. So I think that's something that, we look at. Getting it off of people's lawns was so important. I don't want all that refuse out there. Like I said, it is a problem. So everybody wanted that gone, and I thank the DPS for doing it. With regards to dumpsters, I think half the issue is how many dumpsters. Don't forget the other half of the issue is there's only so many landfills, and everybody had to have slotted times to get in them. So even if they would have brought us 20, 30 more dumpsters, they still would be on property at a certain amount of time as everybody gets their slot into the landfill. From my understanding, it was miles backed up to get in all these landfills, just trying to get in and dump these loads and get back out of there. So just keep that in mind. I do appreciate all the hard work that went into it, and I appreciate everybody's understanding, and I do appreciate the questions. Some questions were brought up that made me think about a couple things, and I do appreciate that. So thank you all for your input. Thank you for coming out and spending your time with us today. Is there a motion to adjourn? We are adjourned.